When it comes to living longer and longevity, most of us obsess over what we eat. More protein, less sugar, no seed oils, more fiber. But what if one of the biggest longevity levers isn't just what's on your plate, but when it hits your plate? Today we're talking about meal timing, circadian rhythm, and a massive new study suggesting that the time you eat breakfast could actually correlate with how long you live. This isn't diet culture, it's chronobiology. I learned that term today. There's this breakfast timing study that got everyone's attention. In September 2025, a study published in Communications Medicine looked at nearly 3,000 older adults in the United Kingdom. Researchers followed 2,945 community adults, average age 64, for up to 22 years. Tracking typical breakfast, lunch, and dinner times, sleep and wake times, physical and psychological health, genetic chronotype markers, and even mortality data via the England NHS registry. Over 63,000 combined participant years, there were 2,361 deaths. Here's where it gets interesting. Participants naturally fell into two patterns: earlier eaters and later eaters. And the difference in survival was measurable. The 10-year survival rate was 89.5% in early eaters, but 86.7% in late eaters. Each additional hour later that breakfast was eaten was associated with about a 1.11x increased mortality risk, even after adjusting for health and lifestyle variables. Now take a breather and don't freak out. Remember that this is observational data, meaning it does not prove that eating breakfast late causes death. What it does do is strongly suggests that breakfast timing might act as a marker of circadian alignment and overall health. But why would breakfast timing matter? Your body runs on an internal 24-hour clock. Light is the main driver, but food timing is a secondary clock setter. When you eat, you're signaling to your entire body. Research published in Cell Metabolism has shown that circadian misalignment, meaning eating at biologically inappropriate times, is linked to poorer glucose control and metabolic dysfunction. If you aren't diabetic, you might not know this, but you are generally more insulin sensitive earlier in the day, meaning that your body handles glucose more efficiently in the morning than late at night. And when do people usually have dessert? If breakfast is consistently pushed late, or skipped entirely, your internal clocks may drift out of sync. And chronic circadian disruption has been associated with higher inflammation, metabolic disease, mood disorders, poor sleep, increased mortality risk. People have a lot of opinions about breakfast, but in terms of circadian rhythms, breakfast isn't just a meal, but a biological signal. And here's something else fascinating from the study. Later breakfast timing was associated with fatigue, depression and anxiety, poorer sleep, oral health issues, difficulty preparing meals, genetic, eveningness, traits. So while delayed breakfast might not be the cause, it could be a sign. Because if someone's health is declining, their routines usually take a hit. Lead author Hassan Dashti, PhD, suggested that changes in meal timing could serve as an early warning sign of declining health. That's powerful. I mean, that's like an early warning bell. Your breakfast time might quietly reflect your internal resilience. So all that to ask the question, what is the best time to eat? Based on this research and broader chrononutrition principles, aim to eat within 30 to 60 minutes of waking. That means that if you get up at 6:30 a.m., aim for a 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock breakfast. If you get up at 8 o'clock a.m., aim for an 8:30 or 9 a.m. breakfast. There's no magic clock time that works for everyone. This is more about anchoring your first meal close to your wake time. And remember that with most things with health, consistency matters more than perfection. Some objections. What about intermittent fasting? I'm not an expert, but just going based off of this study's data, in older adults in this study, that pattern aligned with higher mortality risk. Now, does that mean intermittent fasting is bad? No. But if longevity is your goal, early time restricted feeding, basically shifting your eating window to earlier in the day, might be more aligned with circadian biology than late eating windows. And what about dinner? Interestingly, this study did not find dinner timing to be as strongly associated with mortality as breakfast timing. Though remember that from a metabolic standpoint, finishing meals 2 to 3 hours before bed is still best practices. In practice, if you want to align your meals with your circadian rhythm, you can try a simple framework like this. 1. Get morning light within 30 minutes of waking, to set your master clock. 2. Eat soon after waking, within 30 to 60 minutes. Include protein, fiber, and healthy fats to stabilize blood sugar and reinforce circadian signaling. 3. Eat most calories earlier to shift more energy intake toward the earlier half of your day. 4. Keep your eating window consistent so that you don't confuse your rhythm. Consistency strengthens circadian health, an important reality check and the obligatory disclaimer to do your own research and consult with a professional. This study was done in older adults, average age 64. We can't automatically apply the exact risk percentages to younger populations. And again, this is observational, but when multiple lines of research point toward earlier eating aligning better with metabolic health, well, I think it's worth paying attention to. The big idea here is that when you eat can have a huge impact on your health, not just what you eat. And if something as simple as eating within an hour of waking can potentially support metabolic stability and long-term health, to me, that's a low-effort, high-leverage shift. If this helped you think differently about your morning routine, subscribe for more.